Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing today? We're going to go on and get started at 6 o'clock and don't want to hold you long. Hopefully, everyone has had a great productive day and you've done something to put a smile on somebody's face or make some impact on people in your respective roles. So I'm going to dive straight in. I'm going to talk about a little about Moodle. So if you go to Moodle, you'll see on Moodle that everything has now been updated all the way to the end of the course. Only thing that's missing out of the learning enhancement folders is the weekly readings, and I'll start uploading those on tomorrow. So everything is there. If you're looking at your syllables and then comparing it to Moodle, I do want to be upfront. It's one assignment in week 5 has been added as it's just a reflection assignment. You guys remember, my goal is to make you go from good to great. So I have to give you as much practice as possible of implementing this stuff. I can teach you theory all day long, but I want you to be able to walk away from this class and be able to go into a school and kind of implement some of this stuff. So it's just assignment where I got you implement something just to build your capacity. Because again, I want to make you go from good to great. So let's dive in straight into the learning on this week. I must say that I thoroughly enjoy reading your post from assignment 1 on the assessments of your school PLCs. Thank you for being so transparent and honest about your PLCs. Some very interesting schools, I must say. But I do want to give you some information tonight that can help some of your schools, and then some of your schools are rocking it, and you're doing an awesome and amazing job when it comes to PLCs. But I did notice some trends that I do want to highlight and talk about today before we go into our actual learning. So number one, which I seen trust. Trust came up quite a bit, whether the principals had trust, but most of the time it was the opposite, where there was not trust in the school. And you guys, that is a big piece of a PLC because it's so active and so many people with so many roles, there has to be trust. So trust only comes with relationships. So the leader has to go over and beyond to build relationships. So when we're talking about that, you guys, and again, I'm talking to you because you are going, your desire is to become leaders. And so in your role, that's the first thing you need to go out there, building relationships with people. Then the trust will come and the shared leadership pieces will come. Another thing that came up is a principal leadership. We talked, it kept on coming in servicing, whether it was good leadership or poor leadership, to be honest. Principal leadership kept coming up in your responses. And you guys, chapter 2, your reading for this week really hit on principal, the role of the principal, why the principal role is so important in a PLC structure, in the shared leadership. And you guys, I'm sorry to say it because I have most women on this watching tonight, but you guys, you have the toughest time being leaders because you normally lead with your feelings. And that's when that's when the problems come in. That women are emotional beings and they normally lead in feelings, and they have a tough time with that trust and building those relationships because they feel that, hey, if I don't put my foot down or if I don't be a strict person, then they'll think I'm weak and they'll run over me. But we have to go out building those relationships. And so if we do not build those relationships, you guys, the shared leadership will never come. It will never, ever happen because you're going to be intimidated by that person who's a run on your campus, that teacher who's very knowledgeable, who like going over and beyond. She's going to intimidate you. So therefore, it's very important that you are confident in your practices and you are one step ahead of your teachers when it comes to being new leaders. You guys, you have to study, because you got to always be one step ahead of them. And then you can build those relationships and allow those runners to run and take the lead. Now, my biggest ones coming up that I'm so excited to share about is community, because when I looked at everybody's post, if you scored your post low or rated low, it was with the community aspect of it. So I'm going to tell you some things about what happened to me and how I made some things happen and really brought this to life for my school. So if you was here last week, I kind of talked about my transformation process, how I took over a failing school and completely changed it in 1 year. So let's talk about how did I bring community into the PLC format. And so with this format, you guys, again, I was put into a situation, everybody was fired. I got a chance to staff an entire school and I had to build it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how did I get my parents involved? Because when we're talking about a Title I school, we're talking about a school with low socioeconomic status, and we're talking about a school in a drug-infested neighborhood and all those other dimensions. We already know parental involvement is one of the things that do not happen at these schools. So one, I knew if I wanted to change everything about that school, I had to change the community part of it and get buy-in and get people to want to come to this school. So the first thing I really did is I did a survey with my parents. And so I said, okay, what kind of things do you like? What kind of things do you like doing? And they did that. Parents did the survey. And so my first year, just like I had an academic long range plan academically, I also had a long range plan for parental and community involvement, what I wanted to look like within 3 years. And so pretty much my first year, I went strictly out the dads. Because in an elementary school, moms are pretty much going to always be there. They're the ones bringing them to school, dropping them off, coming to back to school night, and dads are not. So everything I did went around dads. And so when I got that information back, dads like dominoes, they like basketball, they like movies. I did all the events that they like. So I did dominoes with dad, movies with dad, picnics with dad, basketball with dads, everything they like. And I got that buy-in from my dads. And so once I hooked my dads, I didn't do anything instructional with them for the first year because I knew that they would run if I did anything instructional. I did things they like so I can hook them. And so after that, the second year, just that first semester, I did the same thing for my moms. I already had my moms on board. So I didn't have to spend a whole year doing that for them. But I did the same thing, movies with moms, muffin with moms, nails with mom, all the things they like doing, and hooked them. And then once I hooked them, that's when I started building their instructional capacity and background about instruction, because now I had them invested and bought in. So that's when I started doing family stuff. family prom, family movie night, family where mom and dad come together, family learning nights, family game nights, because I had already hooked them with the things that they like. And so it did not stop there. Parents just could not come off the streets and come into my school and want to be part of instructional committees because, one, they're going to fuss at teachers all day and tell teachers what they're not doing and all that kind of stuff. I had to train them. So what happens is then after I hooked them, I built a parent academy, just like we have teacher leaders at your schools, like master teachers, mentor teachers, teacher leaders, content leaders. I had parent leaders. So I built a parent leader academy where parents have to come every Thursday at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock for 8 weeks. And I train them by everything instructional at my school. This is how PLCs work. This is how you go into a classroom and you volunteer. This is how you support. This is how you work in the office. And so after they went through that 8 weeks, I did a formal graduation for them because most of our parents in my section didn't even finish high school. So I did a formal graduation for them where they got caps and gowns and they got to bring their kids and their kids got to see them go across the stage and graduate, but they graduated as a parent leader so that they can have an active leadership role in my school. So when they graduated and do that, that means they can come to PLCs anytime they want to. They can come and work in the office anytime they want to. They can do instructional things. They can participate in my business meetings because I knew they had a true investment in my school then because I trained them. But then that changed my whole culture of my school because parents ran in groves. And so after I did that, guess who started bringing parents in? Those people who had went through the Parent Academy. I no longer had to assign that job to a teacher or assistant principal or me. I strictly focused on instruction at my school after that. And my parents did all the parental stuff. They did all the community stuff. They got the community there. They got the people there, but they had to go through a process. And so I know a lot of everybody say, oh, it's just poor. Our community, I mean, our parent involvement is so weak. We don't have parent involvement. How do we happen? You guys, we have to be creative and think outside of the box to make it happen. But again, I'm telling you what I know works because I did it. I'm not telling you what I got from a book. We have to be very creative on how we can make those parents part of those communities, but it really can't happen. So that's just that spiel. So let's just dive in on some of your reading for tonight. This week, your reading was talking about shared leadership. And so in your chapter, you should have read some things about shared leadership. And I'm going to highlight a couple pieces from that chapter. One thing it talked about, which under shared leadership, it talked about facilitative leadership. And that's pretty much when the principal leads from behind, you guys, where you got that principal leading from behind. That principal is giving and providing those opportunities for people to grow and them to coach leaders and coach the staff into becoming leaders and doing leadership roles. That principal is not dominating everything. It's leading from behind. And so then it talked about constructivist leadership, and that just means we learn together. We dissect stuff together. We construct meaning to things. We get knowledge collectively and collaboratively. And then it talked about distributive leadership, you guys, where we are assigning roles to complete a task for a common good. So everybody got a role and we all are interacting, but at the end of the day, it's one goal, one team, one goal. So this person not working on this goal and this person not working on this goal. We all working on this towards the common vision and a shared goal, but everybody have a task and a play into that. But all three of those leadership styles falls under shared leadership. But again, you guys, it cannot happen if we don't have relationships and trust. We have to trust people. So at the end of the day, you as who are aspiring principals, aspiring assistant principals, aspiring content leaders, school leaders, whatever role you're playing in your school, you guys, it's so important that you know that you have to be an effective communicator. You have to communicate effectively. You have to develop that trust. And you guys, not only that, with a PLC, you have to be an effective planner because you got to schedule out time. PLCs don't just fall out the sky and happen. You have to be creative and plan those schedules so that everybody can be involved on the learning. You have to be able to grow those around you. If you're not growing anybody around you, you're not a leader. If people are not growing around you, you are not leading. You're just walking. It's very important that you understand that. You have to be able to grow those around you. And then the main one, you guys, as a leader, as a principal, a part of this PLC process, we have to be able to effectively monitor teaching and learning so that we can sustain academic success. We have to be able to effectively monitor it so that we can sustain academic success. So that's very important that you understand that. So with that being said, that's just our reflection from this week too, learning. And then I'm going to talk about next week. Next week, you guys, you have a paper that you have to write where you interviewing some people. So you're going to take it from what you thought about your POCs and what you're thinking about your POC structure. And now you're going to go and you're going to see what your team, what people at your school are saying about it. So you're going to give out a survey, seek some data, get them, and then you're going to write a paper about the findings. And so that's just some of the directions in a nutshell on what you're going to do for week 3. You're getting some information from others on the team. I think the directions or the rubrics, they try to do 5 to 10 people with you guys, but please make sure it's more than you, because you want to get a true voice of what others on your campus. Now, you got your perspective of what you're saying about it, but just see and check the pulse on what everybody else is saying about POCs at your school, and just follow their format and get that done. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is, if you didn't, I put in an announcement in the announcement section. And if you didn't get a chance to read it, you guys, I want to make sure that you understand the rubric is so important when you're doing your assignments. Look at that rubric and make sure you are posting and you're responding to the required number of people. Because if you just respond to 2 people and they say, hey, make sure the least amount of people is 2, you're only going to get a 44 every time. That's the highest B that I can give you. You 1 point from an A, but I can't give you an A because the rubric specifically says you went over and beyond or responding to other people. So you did more than two posts. You did 3, you did 4, you did 10, you did more than 2. And so some of you are losing some easy points that you're going to need at the end by just not responding and doing the bare minimum. So that's the only advice I want to give. Your posts and your responses are very high quality. I'm liking that you're not just putting anything on there, because I read everything with layers of focus. You're really responding and you're really putting some thought into it. And I can also tell that you guys are learning from each other based on what's posted. And that's why I want you to continue to respond to more than 2 people or more than 1 response when it's time for 1 response, because the more you read, the more you grow when it's time for responding. And so that's pretty much all I have. Do you guys have anything from me? And we can kind of end our day without, we have to end it with our motto and our speech though. If you weren't here last week, we'll do it this week. If you have questions, you can just type them. If not, we'll go on with our closing. So we have a question like, what are ways you effectively monitor your teachers? So I'm going to speak from 2 roles because I have a different role. I'm going to always speak from my principal role first, because that's where this learning all comes from. From a principal role, every week we had PLCs. We have a PLC structure where teachers had to go back to the classroom and implement something. And so how I monitor them, that I made sure as the principal, I was on the follow-up support list. Well, who's supporting that teacher every week? I was part of that to make sure that it was happening, that learning was happening. Also, every Monday with my test taker, my school was an elementary school, so my 3-5 teachers had a meeting with me every Monday to talk about their data, to talk about what's happening in their classroom, to make sure they are identifying trends. Before they get a chance to talk about it, you guys, I've already pulled student work and looked at it over the weekend, so I know what they should be telling me. I know what they should be saying. And so I know how to guide those conversations when I don't hear what I want to hear. And so those are just some quick ways on effectively monitoring teachers. And so again, at my school, every teacher got observed every week. So you got feedback 36 times because you got observed every single week. And you met with me or one of my administrators or leadership team people every single week. So it was culture. It was the culture at our school. In order for a grow a teacher, I can't see that teacher 2 times and then do 2 observations on it and say, hey, you're done. Have a good summer. That teacher is not growing at all. But when I'm giving that feedback to that teacher every single week, bite-sized chunks that I need you to work on. Now go work on it. Let me come see it. Come back to me. Let's pick something else. Go work on it. Come back. If we're doing it over and over and every week, you guys, teachers grow leaps and bounds in 1 year. And so that's pretty much the ways I monitor teachers. Any more questions? You guys, I like this kind of stuff. I'm sure you can tell my passion behind it. Because we can change schools. We can truly change schools if we put the right people in place and the change. And so my thing is, you guys are expiring. So there's no better way for me to touch your lives than just share what works. and what don't work. So don't go into a school doing it. Don't go in there saying, hey, I'm the principal, you're going to do it my way. You're going to run off everybody and your school won't move. It's very important that you go in building those relationships and finding out who are your strengths on that team and let them run. Hold them accountable, but let them run and let them work, and coach them to be great. All right, so it's like we don't have any more questions, so we're going to go in and say our spiel and talk about our closing, you guys, because I really believe in making sure that I'm motivating you to finish this degree, because a lot of great things are in your future. Based on your reasons, I can tell it's going to be a lot. Some of you don't even have the desire right at this present time to go into principalship, leadership roles, but I promise you, once you finish this degree, you'll definitely think about it. You definitely will think about it. I never wanted to be a principal because I had worked for bad principals all my life. And I was like, I just do not want to do it. But I was blessed with the opportunity to build a school from the ground up. And I got a chance to build a school, my dream school, and make it be everything that I saw them do wrong, I did right. And it worked. So it's a challenging job, but I promise you it's quite rewarding. So if you can repeat after me, we can end this call. Excuses. Excuses are tools of the incompetent. They are used to build monuments of nothingness. Thad, I don't see your mouth moving. Those who specialize in their uses are seldomly capable of doing anything else. Therefore, when getting this degree, I will not engage in excuses. You guys, it's been real. You great. Have a good weekend. Get some rest, but do your work. Do your work and get it in on time. I'll see you guys on next week. And again, you got any questions, just email me, and we'll work through whatever the problem is. You guys have a good Thursday and a good weekend. See you guys next week.